Hello and welcome to Hypeno, where we bring you the latest news briefings and analysis on technologies and EVs to keep you informed. This hour in focus we are exploring why Huawei's new chip breakthrough likely to trigger closer US scrutiny. But before we proceed, please kindly like and subscribe to this channel by clicking the bell notification feature below to help YouTube learn of your preferences and to receive notifications each time new videos are uploaded on this channel. Let's get started. Huawei Technologies' breakthrough in making an advanced chip underscores China's analysts believe that even if a country has the willpower and capability to fight back against sanctions imposed by the United States, such attempts are likely to be exceedingly expensive and may drive Washington to impose even more restrictions. Last week, during the visit of U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo to China, Huawei made a surprise announcement of its newest smartphone, the Mate 60 Pro. This comes as the Chinese government is preparing to launch a new $40 billion investment fund to strengthen the country's burgeoning chip sector. According to a deconstruction performed by Ottawa-based Tech Insights, the Mate 60 Pro is powered by the company's unique chip known as the Kirin 9000s. This chip was made by SMIC, the leading contract chip maker in the country, employing an advanced 7-nanometer (nm) technology. Its findings and assertions by early users about the phone's robust performance show that China is making some headway into manufacturing high-end processors, even though Washington has over the past several years cranked up sanctions to block China's access to advanced chip-making gear. This is despite the fact that China is making some headway into developing high-end chips. This demonstrates the technical progress that China's semiconductor industry has been able to make without the use of EUV tools, according to the report. According to Dan Hutchison, an analyst at Tech Insights, the difficulty of this feat also demonstrates the resiliency of the country's ability to develop technologically advanced chips. Extreme ultraviolet lithography, often known as EUV, is a technique that is utilized in the production of advanced semiconductors with a feature size of 7 nm or less. At the same time, it poses a significant geopolitical challenge to the nations that have worked to limit China's access to essential manufacturing technologies. The end result could very well be limits that are much stricter than those that are in place already. According to analysts from Jefferies, the findings from Tech Insights could prompt an investigation by the Bureau of Industry and Security of the United States Department of Commerce, spark additional debate in the United States about the efficacy of sanctions, and prompt Congress to include even stricter tech sanctions in a competition bill it is preparing to pass against China. In a letter, they stated, "Overall, it seems like the tech war between the US and China is likely to escalate." A representative from the United States Department of Commerce did not immediately respond to a request for comment that was made on Tuesday morning. Huawei refused to comment on the matter. Requests for comments were not immediately met with a response from either SMIC or the Chinese State Council, which is responsible for fielding questions from the press on behalf of the Chinese government. As of late 2020, the United States government prevented SMIC from acquiring an EUV machine from the Dutch company ASML. Prior to this, the most technologically advanced chip that SMIC was known for producing was a 14 nm device. However, Tech Insights stated that it believed SMIC had succeeded to make 7 nm chips by adjusting simpler DUV equipment that it could still readily purchase from ASML. This statement was made in the previous year. As an alternative to working together on the project, a number of analysts, including the one working for Jefferies, have hypothesized that Huawei may have instead purchased the necessary technology and equipment from SMIC. Whoever is responsible for fabricating the chip, an analyst at Gavical Dragonomics named Tilly Zhang dismissed the results by citing a low yield rate, which decreases the number of usable chips that can be made from each wafer and drives up expenses, as well as new export controls enforced by the Netherlands, which will limit SMIC's access to more immersion DUV machines. They have just shown that they are prepared to accept significantly greater prices than what is often regarded as worthwhile. It is only possible for Huawei to sell phones utilizing these chips at normal market costs if it combines its own substantial financial resources with huge subsidies from the government, according to Zhang. Huawei does not currently have such resources. According to a report published by Reuters on Tuesday, China is getting ready to launch a new state-backed investment fund with the goal of raising approximately $40 billion for its chip sector. This comes as the country cranks up its efforts to catch up to the United States and other competitors. Some research companies predict that SMIC's 7nm process will have a yield rate of less than 50%, which is significantly lower than the industry standard of 90% or more. This would limit shipments to approximately 2 to 4 million chips, which is not enough for Huawei to reclaim its former position as the leader in the smartphone market. Analysts from Jefferies believe Huawei is getting ready to launch 10 million devices of the Mate 60 Pro. However, the company may have trouble supporting that quantity with processors manufactured in China at 7 nanometers. In that scenario, it could switch to 10nm chips. However, according to Jefferies, the anticipated yield of 20%, which refers to the number of functional chips that can be produced from a single silicon wafer, would put it well below 90% for the majority of consumer devices. Doug Fuller, a chip researcher at the Copenhagen Business School, stated that the U.S. controls are imposing high costs for producing control technologies in China, and he added that it was likely the Chinese government that was footing the tab. ASML Holding NV, the world's leading maker of lithography systems, is going to experience a substantial setback in its exports to China as a direct result of new export control measures that have been enforced by the government of the Netherlands. These laws, which became effective on September 1, will have a significant impact on the semiconductor industry, as well as the overall level of technological competitiveness around the world. To comply with these requirements, ASML must now obtain a license from the Dutch government before it is allowed to continue exporting equipment that is capable of making sub-5 nm chips. The cutting-edge advanced deep ultraviolet lithography (DUV) tools developed by ASML and used in the production of the most recent generation of microchips find themselves in the firing line as a result of these constraints. An urgent export deadline is looming for one of ASML's most advanced DUV systems, the TWINSCAN NXT 2000i. This system can make chips at a process no lower than 5 nanometers, and it can create chips at even more advanced processes. Chinese chip producers are aware of the upcoming limits, and as a result, they have been scrambling to acquire these essential ASML tools before the year 2023 comes to a close. The step taken by the Dutch government is in line with those taken by the United States and Japan, and it is interpreted as an effort to restrict the export of certain ASML machine models to China. Despite the fact that the guidelines do not specifically reference China, they do make it impossible for ASML to transport its DUV systems to China without first receiving a license from the Chinese government. Since 2019, when it was prohibited from supplying extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography machines, ASML has been forced to deal with difficulties associated with export limitations to China. Despite the fact that the United States has been exerting a great deal of pressure on the corporation, it was still able to export DUV systems up until this year. ASML's TWINSCAN 2000 series, which is considered to be the company's most advanced immersion DUV lithography machine, will no longer be able to be exported to China beginning on January 1, 2024. As a result of this new information, Chinese chip foundries have chosen to hasten their ASML tool imports over the next 4 months in order to secure authorization from The Hague. Despite these problems, ASML, which is the most valuable technology company in Europe, continues to maintain a cautiously optimistic outlook for its yearly sales. They anticipate being able to fulfill all of the orders that have been placed up until the end of this year, which will reduce the potential impact on their financial performance. These export limitations are intensifying the technological battle between countries, which is taking place against the backdrop of the fast-changing global semiconductor landscape. The race that China is running to acquire cutting-edge chip-making equipment highlights the vital part that ASML plays in the semiconductor supply chain. In the coming weeks and months, there is no doubt that the influence of these new breakthroughs on the dynamic of global technology will be scrutinized thoroughly. The discussion comes to an end here for the moment. We appreciate you watching. We'll catch up with you in the next video.